Today we'll be talking about firing your representatives and claiming your rights from the government. In video 9, titled What Do Senators Know Compared to the Legal Society, it starts off with Title 1, Chapter 1, Subsection 8 of the U.S. Code, where it classifies person, human being, child, and individual as an infant member of the Homo sapiens species at any stage of development. So we're going to need to rebut this, and what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to tell them quite unequivocally that we are a people. And remember, in my last two videos I've talked about how people is a singular term from Old English language. Now, this is the notice of termination. This is what you're going to need to send to your public representatives so that they understand and cannot say that they represent you and your persons and your ideas and your beliefs when they make statutes. And here's how it reads. It has come to my attention that we live in a representative government. Representation can only occur with the consent of all parties involved. I will be terminating consent for your representation, as it has become apparent that the legislative executive branch of government are bought and paid for by the multitude of persons, corporations that can afford to put said representatives in office. It is painfully obvious that I, a people, have no true representation in the legislative executive branch of government. This has violated the trust that I, a people, had or will ever have with people operating a governmental persons. The fact that these truths are so apparent and have not already been settled by said representatives speaks volumes. With this in mind, weighing on one's heart and soul, I, a people, have chosen to dismiss your services as representative for my persons. I, a people, hope that this information will reach you in a timely fashion, and I, a people, will hold the receipt for delivery of this letter as evidence, just in case I, a people, need to prove that you have no consent to write statutes over my persons. Thank you very much, and may you have a lovely day. I don't see any reason why we should get nasty with these people. It's just business, right? Now that we have fired our public representatives, it is time to do a claim of rights and notice of intent on how you're going to use those rights. It is important to make this a claim and not a notice. The court should know that you already have rights, you're just claiming them. I always keep the I lowercase, and this is from Capitis Minima. I, a people of whatever territory you live in, but do not say the state of. Say, I, a people of Maine, or I, a people of New York. The woman known as, then give your name, John Doe. Have found the study and history of law to be of interest. In my studies, I, a people, have found that the people have all rights reserved for them, and that the citizens are subject to statutes that are not lawful. They do not follow natural, moral, and or organic law for the government to be governed by, such as the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution for the United States of America, and the Bill of Rights. I, a people, have come to the understanding that a person is a mask to play on the state, and I operate many masks. In effect, DMV driver, citizen, social security number, birth certificate, etc. I, a people, do so at my own free will and do not wish to give this property back to the state at this time, as these documents secure my property. But I, a people, am withdrawing consent for your society. So let's talk about this for a minute. Let's talk about ownership. The government created your DMV driver's license. They created your citizen. They created your social security number and birth certificate. They created all of these things, so they are actually the owner of them, and you operate these in society. These are your persons, and there is case law to say that you can operate a citizen when you want to operate a citizen and not operate a citizen when it's not convenient for you. So the government could keep this property, but you need it to secure your property. And as we talked about in the last video, that was John Locke's idea of the only reason to be in a civilized society is so that government can secure your property from other men. However, it is my will that I act as in the status of a people as a private person at all times, unless it benefits self to use my citizen. Example given, need of insurance. I, a people, will take full liability for any of my actions causing harm and or injury to my fellow man. Unless this occurs, I, a people, can govern myself accordingly. And what this is saying is that this is saying that you can be self-governing. You don't need the government to be there and take care of you like they describe in Title I, Chapter 1, Subsection 8 of the U.S. Code. You're not an infant. You don't need them to watch over you anymore, and you will take full responsibility for any of your actions. So when you're operating in the status of a people, in all of their case law and all of their legal writings, the people are the true sovereigns. So this is essentially saying that you're acting as a sovereign without using the word sovereign, because we all know there's plenty of case law out there that says sovereign citizens are terrorists. And you're acting in your private person at all times. Your body is always acting in a private capacity. And this is what you need to be able to use common law here in the United States. I, a people with all rights reserved, have come to the understanding that we, the people, are the only real, living, animate, imaginative, third-dimensional beings of thought in the practice of law. All other legal, lawful entities only exist in the second dimension on paper or in third-dimensional, not animate objects. Example given, buildings and properties. With this knowledge, I, a people, choose and require to be co-creator of my own artificial legal entity operating in the lawful world. If my understanding is wrong, please inform my persons in a comprehensible manner and within 21 days. Sincerely, signature, and dated. You're going to need to send this in with the courts. You're going to need to file it with the courts and send it in to the Attorney General of your state and to the United States Attorney General. And this way you are informing the courts of your claim of rights and your notice of intent. Once you have filed your claim of rights and notice of intent with the court, they cannot deny knowing that you have claimed your rights. Remember, this should be just as much about informing jurors of how the courts operate as it is about suing the person or people that you are going after in the courtroom. Let's talk about this third paragraph for a second. I'm informing the courts that I know I am a people, and I am the only living, real, animate being of thought in the practice of law. Essentially what I'm telling them there is that I will write my own law, because in common law, I put my own case together, as I was talking about in common law do-over, basic ideas for using common law. I will put my own case together, and the government can put their case together, or anyone else that I'm suing can put their own case together, and they can use statutes and case law if they want to. Whenever I use statutes or case law, I will always compare it to their law and compare it to my morals. Compare with, here's my law, compare this with your case law that says the exact same thing or something very similar. You don't have to write out your claim of rights and notice of intent the way that I did. I was just doing this to give an example and a few ideas on what people might want to think about when they're writing their claim of rights and notice of intent before they file it with the courts. And what I would suggest is that you write it from the heart. This is probably going to be one of the biggest pieces of documented paper in your life. After you file this with the court, statutes will not have the same power over you as they once did. Now I also want to talk about responsibility, because if you do something like this, you have to stay true to yourself. You cannot do something like this and not be true to yourself, because honesty is the only thing that really matters in a common law court. And if you can't be honest with yourself and you can't be honest with your friends and family, then you probably shouldn't do something like this, because any jury will see through you and any judge will see through you and they will chew you up and they will spit you out. Just being honest. Anyways, I am Just Conspiracy, and I would just like to conspire with other good people of this planet to leave a better world for future generations than the one we grew up in. Thank you. Bye-bye.